Welcome to the Town of Richmond's Water and Sewer Commission meeting, December 4th, 2023. Any public comments? A very big public tonight. Okay, moving right along. Additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda. Bart?
If you could, I think maybe a short update, just sort of a summary, a statement about the Board of Abatement
Okay,
and activities related to water sewer.
okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and approve our minutes first.
I move to approve the minutes of November 20th, 2023.
This is David. I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
They weren't very complicated. I looked through them and I didn't see anything.
Okay. No corrections. So calling a vote, all in favor, say yay.
David, aye. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Unanimous vote. Okay, approved. Next, we have some warrants that need to be approved.
Just do purchase order first.
Okay.
I should change that. So I put purchase orders and then warrants.
Okay.
So
So this is the breakout of the water sewer portion of the overall town insurance policy.
actually, so this is the full amount. I'm going to have both water, sewer and select board signed. So there's one PO to pay off of. But then I broke it down
Right,
here.
there's the break.
There's the breakout. Let me, how do I rotate that? There we go. So the water sewer portion is $7,008.09 for water, $14,709 and 2 cents for wastewater. Sorry, that's so small. The total of that is
$21,717.11. Nobody's gonna say, did you do that in your head? No, I didn't.
I
So,
don't want to move that too fast.
so out of this purchase order number 4840 for $64,154, of which $21,717.11 is for water and sewer insurance coverage. May I have a motion to approve?
Morgan, this is David. Move to approve.
As Bart, I will second that.
Okay, discussion, any further discussion? So no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, the ayes take it. Nice. So, so I guess we'll just pick any warrant for the amount of,
You can just do them all at one.
okay, all the warrants.
There's a specific
I move to
question.
accept the warrants as presented.
This is
Okay.
David. I'll second.
All right, discussion? No discussions, calling for a vote to approve the warrants. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. The ayes take it again. Nice. Thank you. Maybe we'll circulate those around as we
There you go now.
go
Sure.
along. Yeah. And get that in so that we're not caught off going forward or off. So the first thing on the agenda will a quick brief mention of the Board of Flood Abatement meeting. There was a meeting last week to consider two individuals on Esplanade Streets with their charges that they had for, I think it was sewer during the flood, in which they had some damage to their house. Bart, could you maybe fill in a little?
Well, I will say, I think many of us were there.
I think we were all there.
There was public session where they presented their case, so that is public record. And then the Board of Abatement, which considers the request, is embargoed, so that is executive session, and did not reach a decision that night. So I think it's really just a heads up that it's of interest to this commission. If I recall correctly, people came here first and we discussed what our authority was to abate water and sewer charges. And we now have, by my count, 3 documents that say the authority for abating water and or sewer charges belong to the BCA, the Board of the Civil Authority, operating as the Board of Abatement.
Okay,
And the person who came here to talk to us about abating was not one of the people at the meeting. Interestingly enough.
okay. So, and hence we will pass that right along to the Board of Civil Authority to,
I think that the Water Sewer Commission will know what the decision is after they make it.
take the decision.
Along with the rest of the public, and we'll know what decision was made. I think it's worthwhile for the commission to know about both what our limits of authority are,
Mhm.
and then what the Board of Abatement decided under these circumstances.
In any event, we're talking hundreds of dollars,
300 or so,
yeah.
I
So,
believe. Give or take.
There were 2 different figures kicked around, so
Right.
There's what,
Yeah.
there was what the appellants asked for,
Right.
and there's what back of the envelope arithmetic,
right,
and we shouldn't really say much more, but we just,
Right.
it's not found.
right, it's not. Okay, good, thank you very much, Warren. Okay, moving along here, first from the list, Steve. You can step up or stay right there. Review of the list of water and wastewater items to be repaired and replaced.
It's still a list.
It is, thank you.
Or Morgan, whichever.
Yeah.
We're just cracking away at things, just trying to keep going. Last week in particular, we got the digester 90% cleaned. We had to do something because we had the line plugged to the dewatering building, so we had to clean out part of the digester. Once we got going at it, the contractor was like, we can get almost all of it. I'm here. Let's do it. So we did about 90%. The line under the ground is now open and working. The digester's working a lot better. Hasn't plugged or anything at night. So that is going forward. The plan is next spring to start on a regular routine cleaning of the plant. And the contractor feels that he can do the 2 tanks that we've already cleaned under the garage there, the septic receiving tanks, and completely finish and clean the digester all in one day with 1 truckload. And we should be able to get on a regular schedule of once a year, doing them all and getting it done. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Other than that, the water tank is, the mixers are both in and working fine. Everything is good there. There is still the fluoride problem I'm dealing with. The state still hasn't got us a fluoride pump. We're having increasing trouble trying to maintain our fluoride levels. You will see that, I left that in front of your thing.
Yeah, we're
but
here
it
for next
didn't-
meeting.
It wasn't in time, but, in November, increasingly the fluoride levels have dropped. Just because I can't leave the pump plugged in when I know the pumps are gonna shut off. And it's just the way it is. They're aware of it. They tell me that it could take up to 2 months from the time I started. So we're looking at the first of the year, maybe, before we get a pump. I'm trying to find a better solution to that, but that's all I've got right now.
Morgan, I'm struck that given our history with fluoride in our water system, this might, beyond those who are paying attention to the Water Sewer Commission meetings, it might be worth a heads up to customers on the system, like through Front Porch Forum, and say, we got this thing. The good news is we're not too high.
No, and that is the problem. I did find our clear well was overdosed twice. We
Yes.
pumped that water out, not into the system. And then the answer to that was we're having to, like I said, when the pump is running, it pumps really well and good. But it just, when it shuts off, it continues to siphon through. I've tried all the check valves and stuff that I've been told to change the ones with the ones. Problem is, all of the stuff that we have is old and been used, so it's like, are the springs, they're all worn at this point, and it just doesn't.
So it's probably like an old Saab or something.
Could be. The parts are available though.
Oh, that's good. But perhaps
So,
a brief message
Yeah.
in Front Porch
I
Forum
mean-
and our website with a
Yeah.
link to what the actual testing shows.
we really have been trying, but I will tell you honestly, the numbers are down into the around the 4 range is where we're being a 0.4, not anywhere close to the 0.6 to 7 that we want. I mean, and we were able to do it for a year, so I know we can do it. Everything was good until we had this pump problem.
And the state, is it a supplier issue? They can't get it, so they can get it to you, or?
No, it's, I was told, I called my supplier. My supplier said, we have one in stock, gave them the number of the pump and everything. We have one in stock. We can send it to you, be there 3 days. I call the state because you have to go through the state. They're like, well, we'll take that as one estimate. We have to get 3 estimates. We have to put it, 3 estimates. Then they did that. They got those. They used mine as one. And then whoever they chose to buy it through, they had to get set up as a supplier. I just keep getting excuses when I get it through them. It's about $4,500 what they're looking at. Like I told them, look, I was told my supplier would have me one in 3 days, but you're gonna save a few dollars and it's gonna be 2 months,
And it has health implications for our citizens,
right?
but they're gonna save a few dollars.
Well,
So, who is it that we're talking with at the state? What-
It is actually the guy for the fluoride program. It's Dustin Jorgensen.
So within that hierarchy, I'm not clear like who he works for within above.
He's
him,
in the
there's-
health department, which is who covers the fluoridation problem.
So I'm thinking we should start with the Commissioner of Health and say, we're waiting 2 months on this fluoride problem because you have a purchasing delay on a $4,500 piece of equipment. Having worked in state government, I know when they're doing 3, it's a simplified bid.
Yeah.
But the process is gonna take a while. If they're just setting up a vendor.
I don't know. The last conversation I had with him, I really wanted to get an email out to him today and I didn't, but the last conversation was last Monday. And he said that he was finishing setting up the vendor and would have it to us as soon as possible.
well, I think if in any event, it sounds like we need to maybe follow up with a letter to somebody so that, I mean, we've done everything we should be. We should not be called on the carpet, so to speak, about it.
Well, I don't believe they're gonna call us on the carpet.
No, we're
because-
calling them on the carpet.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
I mean,
it's a $4,500 purchase. They know they're gonna purchase it, plus or minus a few $100. Our citizens, customers,
They
this is a
expect that,
problem.
right?
They expect it, and having partial fluoridation is in some ways worse than having no fluoridation, because what do you do for your
well,
kids when it's?
to be honest, the levels that we're maintaining are the levels that were maintained before we took over.
Well,
I don't find great solace in it.
I understand that, and that's why I'm being upfront with you guys. We did a bunch of testing while this was going on that Roland Luxembourg, who is the state guy that comes down and he assessed the pump problem and like, yes, there's a problem. And he's the guy that helps us figure out how to do our mixing of our fluoride and stuff like that. He wanted us to take some samples from different places. One in particular was the control house up by the water tank. He feels, and I just sent him the 3 weeks of data that I took, but his gut feeling is that maybe we should be sampling from because fluoride doesn't dissipate,
Mhm.
that maybe our samples should be taken from the control house near the water tank. Because that really is our fluoride source. And not down at the thing. But he's got to look at the complete data, and I've sampled for 3 weeks up there. And at the water house and at the plant. And I gave him all that data to look at, so.
Okay. That's
So-
like some sort of a letter, at least. on
I think
record, right?
a email is probably fastest. Email this guy and copy the commissioner expressing our
Got it.
concern about the delay.
Right,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we have.
mean,
something on record.
we want to go on
Right.
record as wanting to fluoridate.
I mean, Brad and I really, for a year, we've maintained it at the 0.7. We went back and looked, we were rock solid ever since we changed the way we mix it and stuff. And we've been able to maintain it, so we know what we're doing. It's simply since this pump has been malfunctioning on us. And that, it really scared us when we found our clear well was really at a poison level. And so that's why we've been on the side of caution of not over fluoridating.
Oh, yeah.
Unplugging the pump, not only unplugging the pump, but removing the hose from the container so it can't keep siphoning. And I got the note on my hand to make sure to go do it tonight.
Okay, all right, moving along.
Actually, one very stupid question. The rag ball in the septic tank,
The,
how big is this rag ball?
well, I can show you a picture, and I was gonna send these to Josh, and I did. This is a picture of probably half of the rags that we removed from the digester.
That's where it went.
Do you want to email? Can you email it to me? Oh, it's like a whole video. Wait a minute.
Oh, wait, did I
No,
put it to
I'm
the
looking at the
video?
video.
Oh, that's the
It doesn't look
digester
like a rag.
cleaning. Where-
Are you putting all this up on YouTube? Cause I mean, this is, we could monetize.
Oh, yeah.
TikTok.
That rag balls? Oh.
The ragdoll TikTok dance, new trend of all the teenagers.
Yeah.
I filmed
Oh.
the SB Ireland, next parade on, Church Street.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll
I
have
get
to look it
$100
up.
every quarter from
Um,
royalties for people.
It was,
Do you really?
The one on St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
so the amount of rags that we took out of
Are we
the
done?
digester, and that was simply, we
Are they like
physically
red
got,
rags?
huh?
Are they like the red, like shop rags?
No, these rags, what rags are anything that form together.
Oh.
Most of them are flushable wipes.
Okay.
People flush t-shirts, underwear,
Oh, I'm sure.
socks. You wouldn't believe this stuff, but
But once it
All
goes
of
down the
that-
drain, it's just
I
gone.
would.
yeah, it is gone. It comes down to me. So it was a matter of like 15 minutes getting down into the digester, cutting the rags free, putting them in a 5-gallon pail, somebody pulling them up. We filled a 2-yard dump.
Do you do that in like a hazmat
Yes.
suit?
Well, I don't. But my wife does ask me to. change
should be.
before-
Just as a random stupid idea,
No.
which I'm famous for. If we were to, I would almost suggest taking that photo and posting it to the French Porch Forum
Yeah.
and say, this is what you're,
Well, that's one reason why I took the photos.
yeah, to say, this is
Oh,
your
like.
flushable wipe.
Yeah.
Mm.
But the rag ball that is is about that same size.
Mhm.
And that one we're gonna address this winter sometime when we slow down. We're gonna clean out the tank real well, and then somebody's gonna have to get, same thing as the digester, you get down in there and you have to cut them. Use a Sawzall, a hatchet. They form a really tight knit. It's like a bale of hay.
All jokes aside, I really do think you should wear
Yeah.
PPE
I would
when you do
agree.
that.
I do wear gloves because
But if you're sawzalling, there's,
the danger of needles
yeah.
is
well,
really high.
I
now.
was thinking needles, or I was thinking communicable diseases,
Bacteria.
Bugs.
bugs.
If you aerosolize anything in the course of sewing it up, you're gonna breathe that. So
Yeah,
I would at least encourage a respirator and gloves.
Well,
We have. a
respirators get into a whole different ballpark of getting,
N95 mask, maybe.
yeah,
something.
yeah, we could put a mask on.
Very good.
Yeah.
I don't ask, I do not ask
Just
other people to do it. I
because
usually
we-
do it.
Because we love
Care
you.
about you.
Okay. Any other questions on repairs, maintenance to water and sewer?
Other than that, we're just keeping the plant running and keeping going and working with the engineers, answering questions that they have.
Are you still coming in at all hours of the night?
No,
to check
actually,
that? Or has that been
no.
prepared?
And I was telling Jay beforehand, Saturday and Sunday were the first since I became
Superintendent.
superintendent that I did not have to come to Richmond.
Right.
So I got
How's
through
the press
2 days.
working?
I came on Saturday to the book sale with my wife, but
I did see you.
didn't
there.
really have to do anything at the plant. So no, it's getting better. We're maintaining. The press, we have disassembled the one side now. And we know how to do it now. We can do the other side. So when we're the other side, as soon as we get the parts from them, and we're gonna coordinate this with them, we can disassemble the other side and we will be ready to go for them to put everything back together. It was a little learning curve, but Juro's helped us with a few tools that they have hidden away and works good.
Great. Okay. So maybe end of March, we'll have the parts in to rebuild the.
I was
100%
was
FedEx.
looking at the end of January, I thought, for the parts to rebuild the press.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of
The computer parts,
SCADA board or whatever it's.
yeah, that stuff I don't think is gonna be in until even maybe end of April,
I'd have to look
the
back.
PC and
Yeah.
stuff.
Right. Okay, great.
But-
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Yep.
All right,
Oh, and one other thing, the fire extinguisher inspector came. And he came up after he was all done and he's like, thank you. And
Oh,
I'm like, for what? And he's like, 3 years I've been here. This is the first time I've had stairs to get into that building.
good. All right. Stairs that he didn't feel like he was gonna fall through. right?
Well, this was a stack of pallets.
That was a
Figure it
stack
out.
of pallets that
Yeah.
it's had to crawl up.
Should we ask them to close the door next door? It's kind of loud.
I can go do that if you want.
It is the park.
Yeah, it's, okay, I think.
I saw the mad sign too.
Okay, next. Gateway expansion discussion. So there, I think this is a follow-up. There's a couple parts to this, and that is. Next steps, which one of them. Actually, we have Jeremy here, so I think one of the things, we got an email that was part of, I think, what was posted from one of the. Residents down on the gateway and. They had, put forth a couple things that they were not happy about, but one of them was about 30-foot easement along the gateway. And I think we just wanted to clarify that for the record, which was the Water and Sewer Commission is not asking for a 30-foot easement along the gateway expansion there. And that was really something that was from the letter from the Richmond Land Trust. So Jeremy, I don't know if you wanted to weigh in on the 30 feet or. No.
Not especially, I guess, I would just make 2 points with respect to the easement corridor. One is that I suspect there will need to be a subsurface easement for the water and sewer line.
Right.
And so part of the rationale is that the surface above those lines could be utilized for some other purpose. And the second point is that the zoning setback, we're also thinking that the same strip could be within the zoning setback, so it wouldn't have any practical impact on people's use of their properties,
Right.
the development of their property.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody, Bard, do you have any comments?
Well, the only thing I'd say is at the last meeting is we talked about turning our attention to the degree that it has merit to the REAPs on phase one under the terms of the current easement and focus on that, which would, if that comes to pass, which is clearly an if, any extension to phase two beyond the REAPs would then be an additional easement and a different conversation, including the land trust and others.
Right,
I think. Does that make sense?
yeah.
At least that's what we discussed last time.
So really the focus right now is just with the Reach property and what can be worked out with that. And I thought maybe the first thing we should do is to maybe have a meeting with the Reaps and discuss, you know, maybe not only where they are, but what needs to happen, right? If we're just going to stop at their property, what are the things that need to happen with the easement, the things like water hydrant, the Chittenden East School District, what they need to be on board with, inspection of the existing sewer line. If it fails, then where are we? Where's the school district on that? There's that expansion. So there's a number of things that have to be addressed and will have to fall in place if the lines will go forward or not.
It only strikes me, Morgan, that, this is one of those things, I've used this metaphor with this group in the past, that this is red, yellow, green. So we're clearly in a yellow phase. It's not red, it's not green. But if the REAPs are not interested, it probably goes to red again. And what I understood is they are focusing on development at the rear part of the property for storage units, which of course don't require any substantial water or sewer. And we're still at least conceptually interested in housing in the front end. And so then to what degree and how does water sewer change their plans or make it viable for them to subsidize the line coming down to phase
Right.
to their property? Is at least how I've thought about it. Does that make sense to other folks here?
Yes, it does for me because they're paying for the line to get it from the school. And I guess there's also discussion about what happens with the school if that line fails or doesn't meet the town's requirements, that additional footage. But I think it's right. We're in that yellow, that place where they're not really focused on that, but if they are going to move forward, then they should be very aware of what needs to happen. And also sort of it's not going to happen in a couple months. It's going to take months or a year just to get to a point to where you could even put a line in, design and things like that. So I guess I don't want us to go through hearing, we're like, okay, why haven't you done anything, Water and Sewer Commission? I think it'd be good to, everybody knows what is going to be required at least to start to move forward.
You want to try to set up a follow-up meeting with me and you and Bard and the REAPs we've done in the past
Sure.
and see, sort of check in.
Yeah, I think that'd be good to check it with them, and then we would just create a bullet point list of like, these are the things that would need to happen in order to get a line. And I'll just say a line to a water hydrant, fire hydrant, about that. Sure. Because that's part of what we're looking, is that the fire departments have said it'd be great to have a fire hydrant down there to hook up. So I guess we don't really know, as far as the easement, what changes would take place at this point.
Okay. Well, if we can help or you have questions, just reach out.
Okay, great.
So I guess while you're here, because I do think your opinion is good in this, how do we handle an email or a response back
Oh,
to the Zargos?
to the,
Maybe you're not supposed to name, but the email that we got, how do we properly respond to them without saying like, it wasn't us, it was the people that want the bike path and the land trust? Like, how do we together say something back to them that's constructive.
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge because there's multiple things in there, obviously, that they were not happy about. I
Right.
think is a fair way of putting it. There's a 30-foot easement. They didn't want to give up.
There was a belief that we were basically eminent domaining their land.
Right. There is the thought of forcing them to connect to a water and sewer line. I'm not going to touch that one because I don't know, where that would stand because, and I say that because there are people that are property owners beyond them that would like water and sewer. So if we ever got to the point of that phase. So I guess we should consider a letter that one says, we are not looking at taking 30 feet of your land to do anything, but maybe with the stipulation at some point, individuals, if the water line does go past the Reeves property, right? That there are individuals on the other side of you that do want water and sewer.
Well, you go.
I'm just struck that for the citizens who don't spend as much time immersed in government as some of us do, it's not always clear, like, who is this from? Why are they asking me these questions? And I think just to be factual, that we asked for input on a letter from Richmond Land Trust related to an easement. And so this is your input. It wasn't our plan, proposal, anything. This is part of an input phase or stage. So I don't think we need to claim or declaim anything. It's just, that's what we were asking about.
Right.
And it's clear also that other people who were in the room at the last meeting expressed interest in having water and sewer to their property.
Right.
So it perhaps is a situation where people similarly situated could reach different conclusions. Some want it and some don't. And that just is what it is,
Right.
like many things.
Right. Okay. So maybe just a letter saying that we've not been entertaining taking 30 feet of the property. But
Yeah, I
we
think we
continue
can
to look at water and sewer.
describe this as one of the steps
Right.
along the way, like Lauren said, it is a proposal from Richmond Land Trust, not necessarily the position of the Water and Sewer Commission, and it's not final at all.
Right.
Thanks for the
Right.
input.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you for your input.
Yeah, because it's important to be here from people.
Yes, it is. That's right. At least they're engaged. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Good. Okay. Any other questions on that or?
Nope.
Did you have any other questions for us?
Nope.
All right, moving right along.
Meter sewer.
Yep. Fee language, specifically metered sewer. Review of fee language.
So.
Okay, I'll just-
Jump in, but you guys.
At our Board of Abatement meeting, which we can't discuss specifics of because it's still an open hearing essentially. But there were some questions about being charged for metered sewer for water that had not passed through the meter because it was pumped out of the basement. And we said, well, we never have actually metered sewer. That's just the way it reads on the bill.
So this was part of the open public session at the beginning of that
Right.
meeting. Yeah.
And so, for those watching at home or watching the recording later, we've never actually metered sewer. We just simply, there's a legal fiction that we've assumed that if you take 100 gallons in, we bill you for 100 gallons sewer out. It's just because otherwise we're paying for a very expensive sewer meter. They are not cheap. And so it's understandable that people would be confused when they look at their bill and it says metered sewer. So to avoid that confusion in the future, the suggestion would be that, we have fixed rate, that's the base fee that everybody pays regardless. And then there's non-fixed sewer, which means it's not the fixed usage. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do still
feel like-
charge per
Yeah.
1,000 gallons, so it is based on water usage, but then
Right.
how do we say that? Yeah,
I feel like the usage, like sewer capacity usage or something, sewer discharge usage, like something non-fixed would confuse me if prior to my knowledge on this board. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the metered, when you look at it, you're like, okay, that,
Isn't your sewer based on a percentage of your water?
no,
It's not.
1,000 gallons in for water is billed as 1,000 gallons out for sewer.
Okay.
Well, I think maybe the point is that we're not a for-profit organization here. And we are charging users an amount of money to operate facility, repair the facility, keep it up to standards. So, but we need language that at least, explains that.
It's worth noting that we are not aware of any system on the planet that meters both water and sewer. And that's related to the complexities and cost of metering sewer. So clean, fresh water,
Fluoridated water.
chlorinated water is easy to meter with the equivalent of impeller or fan, right?
Yeah.
Like how much is going in. But as soon as you try to meter something that has solids in it, the complexity of metering volume becomes more nuanced. It's much more costly exercise. You-
It's cost prohibitive.
Steve's point is it's cost prohibitive, so we could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars installing meters that would then break frequently. And the purpose of that would be to estimate the difference between water and sewage use. And it would seem in that sense, it is a poor business decision, cost prohibitive. Again, don't know of any systems that do that because of the engineering and management problems. So maybe it boils down to trying to find semantic language that's clearer than metered sewer. That people are confused. Do you assume that there's a meter on your sewer? Well, if you concluded that of course would not be correct.
That's reasonable that they would think that.
I think one thing we could do rather than try to reinvent the wheel is we could reach out to other water systems. I could email other town managers and ask, what do they use how do they describe metered sewer?
Has this ever come up for
Yeah,
them?
and maybe they have a different verbiage that they use and we'll say, that's it. And so we could do some outreach and try to come back.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I
There's,
would look on my bill, but I only get water from the town.
I was just gonna text
I
my
don't-
dad, but I was like.
I don't
no,
have
sorry.
sewer.
Yeah, well, if you can reach out to some other superintendents, I'll email to the town manager listserv that I have. And we'll see what we find out. Maybe everybody calls it metered sewer and we're groundbreaking, but maybe there's something out there.
My property in Jeffersonville, the bill comes as water used, sewer used. Huh, they're the same number.
Well, yeah,
But I
The
mean,
same idea.
essentially, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
They don't say metered sewer though, right?
Right.
Yeah, so.
but it makes you think you use that much in sewer when you probably didn't, especially if you washed a car or a sob or something like that.
or a sob.
Yeah, they're different things.
They're the same.
Unintentional slip.
And I'll only observe that the leak is only one of the circumstances leading to
Discrepancies.
discrepancy between water and sewer. So you could have a leak in the water, you could have a leak caused by flooding, you could fill your pool, you could water your garden.
You can have your stormwater connected directly to your sewer
Right.
and be feeding in a lot more.
There you go.
So there are all these permutations of up or down, plus or minus, more or less, which I don't think we're going to solve in an accurate metering system at every customer's house. So I think it does bring us back to how do we either define it or explain it?
Right.
We could even have an asterisk that said, like, this is what that means.
And Steve can tell us that there are times when the sewer plant takes far more water in than the water we have goes out. We were talking about this just before the meeting. The rates are derived by costs. So let's say we put in sewer meters and there was some difference between water and sewer. Well, we're still billing to cover costs. So let's say sewer readings were X lower than water readings. Well, the rates just went up by X. So it's still gonna cost the same.
Right, well, that's exactly my point earlier is like, okay, well, we'll have to raise our rates on water to cover the lack of sewer that's not going there. Regardless, it costs the same to operate it, so. All right, so we need to work on figuring out how to change that.
Yeah, or describe it better. Yeah.
Whatever metered use, sewer use. Good, okay, thank you. And then we have, wow, we're way ahead of ourselves here. Update on water meters.
So I think we're starting to move along here pretty good. Once we got the agreement figured out, we sent the RFP for installation over to Zenner so they can help us add technical specs. I didn't hear from them for a little bit, but I got, I don't know, 4 or 5 emails on Friday. I don't know if he copied you.
I didn't get any of those.
Got a bunch on Friday afternoon from Noah that would be helpful towards that RFP. So I'll sort through those this week with Steve. We'll get that RFP out. And then we need to finalize the agreement with Zenner as far as like numbers that we're purchasing. And then we should be moving after months of slow. Yeah.
Somebody asked me what we estimated as an installation date for new meters. Do we have any sense?
Probably don't right now. I
Say a
mean,
couple months out at least, because
Yeah.
we're gonna need to get an RFP out for installation. I don't know how long we have for delivery.
Late spring, maybe even early spring, depending on who we get for installation.
Yeah, I think that'll go fairly, I mean, once we get the RFP together, there's only like, I think 3 or 4 companies that do that type of work. So it should be fairly quick to get the RFP back.
There is one thing that I want to clear up, and this came up kind of through Duncan. Installation of water meters in flooded buildings maybe should be located above flood
Hmm.
now.
Which is basically the roof line piece.
Well,
An esplanade, it'll have to be raised. You know.
well, they might have to be, I mean, it might be instead of at your bottom, they might have to come in and be put
Hmm.
up higher.
Mm.
And it's a question I wanted to talk to Noah about, to see how the older meters seem to resist flooding. I don't know if our new meters would resist flooding to that amount.
Would they go on the outside of the building then?
No, the meters will still be on the inside, but I'm talking instead of at the basement floor level.
Yeah,
They might be in Esplanade, they might be, have to be up above floodplain.
And on the first floor, like,
Or wherever, like, I think some of them had to relocate their furnaces and stuff.
Hmm.
They're now not in the basement. They might have to come in and be plumbed at a different spot.
Hmm.
That's just going through in the future. I have a whole list of floodproofing things that I think we should talk about sometime.
Let's put it on the agenda.
Like sealed manhole covers in all of the flooded areas. I really think that that's something that we should think about, especially, after we've had all the lines cleaned by the state now, that were flooded. The pipes looked in really good shape and stuff. And I had a discussion with the engineer from the state, and they're like, oh, that's a really good idea. Maybe that's something that you guys might do. In New Hampshire, the idea came because in New Hampshire, anything that floods twice is required to have a sealed manhole now. So, you know, the Volunteers Green area, Esplanade, and anything on Bridge Street that floods, maybe we should put sealed manhole covers in. You won't have discharges through them like we had. And it might be a benefit to the plant that you don't have infiltration also.
never having worked with sealed manhole covers, do you have special wrench to get them open or?
Basically, yeah, the covers actually bolt down into a rubber seal. And I got some prices from EJP. They're in the $500 range to get you have to get the ring and the cover together. And we'd have to change some stuff, but that price we could use in Volunteers Green where we're not driving on them because they were plastic. And I'm not 100% sure those would work on Esplanade. But I'm not sure. They might be drivable, you know. But there's some, things like that. There's like at the Waterhouse, I'd like to see floodproof doors. Where that is the only infiltration point into the Waterhouse. And if we had floodproof doors, we wouldn't have a clear well getting inundated. We wouldn't have. So there's things like that. I have a whole list I've been putting together of projects like that to just seal us off from flooding in the future and try to make it better for us.
One observation about moving the meters in the Esplanade houses. At my work, I sit right next to one of the water meters, and they're really noisy when the water's going. Oh, okay, well, that's fine, but my only observation was if you were gonna put them somewhere else in people's houses, you know, like we run our dishwasher and our washing machine and all that stuff at night, if that was like right under our kid's bedroom, that would be an issue.
Well, I
Like
mean,
something like that, like they just are really noisy. You don't notice them
I
when they're
mean,
buried
and-
in your
and-
basement, but
And Noah may say, oh, these are great, they can get flooded, put
Yeah.
them wherever, so. I just, we're buying these new meters, we're installing them, there is an electrical component to them.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that we're installing them, not where they're gonna get ruined every time it floods.
Good point. Well, big question going back to the covered manholes is what happens if the hydraulic head builds up and starts backing up the sewer line?
Well, that's one of the things, there should not be as much, if the system is free of storm drain usage. Or lower, and is sealed from inundation in that area that is flooded. Then the head pressure the plant should be able to maintain and stop that hydraulic head pressure.
So a part of this will be trying to, again, figure out where all the storm.
Right, and part of this also ties into our 20-year upgrade, where the engineers have done in-depth measurements of all the manholes and everything and the collection system, and seeing if this really would work. From what we looked at when the state cleaned all of the lines that were flooded, it looked like the lines are in really great shape in that area. So they could withstand some head pressure. It's just, would the plant be able to handle what's coming in if we can limit, the flooding coming in and then, storm drains and stuff from other places.
I'd hate to see a manhole up or on Route 2 and seeing the manhole cover shoot up in the air because of all the water that's coming back.
Well, I mean, that is part of a problem that could arise.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, I just am thinking of all these things, trying to prevent problems from flooding, because, I mean, the writing's on the wall. This is not going to be, a one-time every 100-year event.
Right.
No,
It's happened 3 times. It's a progressively happening thing.
Right.
Um,
Well, so it sounds like the issue has already been thought about and is noted to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, I like the flood doors on the water house. I mean, that seems to me to be a no-brainer. They're expensive, but if it stops us from even having to seal, if they seal tight enough that we don't get silt in the water house, then we don't have to stop pumping. There, we don't have a boil water notice, even though the water is flooded up around the house.
Right.
It's sealed except for there.
It saves 4 days of your time and Brad's
Yeah,
time cleaning up.
it takes
Yeah.
extensive time, pump it out, clean it out. Get it all back up, get the state testing done. And it was really, 4 days straight doing just
Mhm.
that.
Wow.
So there are things like that I've been thinking about. And have put together a list that, those are kind of wish list things, but there are things.
well,
that
it will
we-
be right before Christmas next meeting, so it might be the right time to talk about your wish list.
Santa Claus.
Does Santa routinely bring field manhole
So
cover?
that's a heavy
Santa brought a
slag.
cement
Go
truck
ahead.
to our house.
Good going, right there, Rudolph.
Was it full?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's.
There were straws in it and
Yeah,
everything.
good.
Yeah.
I move we adjourn.
Alright,
Well, okay. So discussion items for
For cows.
next agenda.
Steve's wish list.
Steve's wish list. Well, I guess we should add that to.
We can talk about flood prevention.
I think it's actually a really prudent thing, and I think starting with the well house, which is lower elevation,
Yeah.
right? Like,
That's
and then-
brilliant, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, really, after it flooded, I went around and looked at the portholes into that. And there are two things struck me about the construction of that. The original building was brick. And that was great design. It had one door, it was down low. When they added the second section, they poured a footing around and then they put wood. So the addition is wood. It really should have been block or brick. I mean, I know it's expensive, but it would have really sealed that building essentially from flooding. And then, so if you look, there was no inundation through any of that area. The inundation came through the two doors into the building. Which I'm like, they're just regular doors, you know, they're not sealable or, so
What are the dimensions of the addition?
I'd
Not
have
that
to
big.
measure it.
Yeah.
It's basically double the size of the water house.
Anything else for next agenda?
Maybe a gateway update.
Gateway update.
Any follow-up on the sewer meter semantic?
Okay,
Oh, and any update if we hear from the state on the.
I will
fluoride
look
pump.
up the price of sewer meters.
It'll just be a stake in the ground.
Oh,
Well,
and also
the
if we can
name
get an
of
update on the fluoride pump from the state.
Yeah,
Dustin Jorgensen.
I will send him an email tomorrow. I didn't get that. And I will also apologize. I had the video from inside the water tank cleaning. It is this weird cloud-based thing. I got access to it and then I get a limited time and then your password expires. I need to get a password so I can get in there to look at it while Tyler is around. It's a weird system. I can't forward it to Tyler. I can't do anything.
oh, so is Tyler gonna give us, come in and talk about
He
the,
will as soon as he can get
We can look at the
time to
video.
get together.
okay,
I'll put that on the list as well, if we have an update.
That is on me right now.
okay.
It's not on Tyler.
They should be able to send you a thumb drive with the video. But
That's
anyway.
how every other, that's how every other
Yeah.
company does it.
All right, we'll put that on as a possible, if there's an
Do
update.
we wanna talk about, repair items again?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always a sort of
August.
standing.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And get some nice big portrait size photos of the rag vault.
Okay,
Oh, no.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You.